Senator Katherine Zappone. Senator, you have 4 minutes.
Thanks, Cairlick. Good morning, Minister. Ibrahim Halawa, an Irish citizen who will be celebrating his 20th birthday in 3 days' time, has spent more than 800 days in pretrial detention in an Egyptian prison for allegedly taking part in an anti-government protest in Cairo. Not unlike many, many others concerned for his life, health, and well-being, I sent him a birthday card through our Department of Foreign Affairs, whom I hope will pass the message on to our Irish embassy in Cairo, and that Ibrahim will know that we have not forgotten him and that I keep him in my heart. Minister, protection of the right to liberty and from arbitrary detention is included in all human rights treaties. It is a rule of customary international law. Detention may be characterized as arbitrary on the basis that it continues for an unjustifiable long period or where there is delay in bringing the accused to trial. As you are aware, there have been continual adjournments of his trial over the past 2.5 years, and the next date is scheduled for December 15th, which will be the 10th time that he has been brought to trial. The 9th time his trial was adjourned was due to a judicial ruling that all 494 defendants must be present for the trial to proceed, and a couple were not present due to illness. The arbitrariness of his detention is one of the prime reasons I have requested for you to provide us with an update on Ibrahim Halawa's legal case and to outline the government's actions since his last trial date of October 4th, 2015 was adjourned until the 15th of December. Minister, I am aware of and deeply respect the commitment by you personally to support the release of Ibrahim and the immense work you and your officials in the Department of Foreign Affairs and our Irish embassy staff in Cairo have done. As you know, I had an extended meeting with your officials prior to his last trial date and heard firsthand an outline of your actions, your strategies, and your assessment of diplomatic advice taken from other jurisdictions with citizens in similar circumstances. So what I am requesting now is an update of your actions since the 4th of October, and I hope that you may also give us an indication of how you are supporting Ibrahim's access to his lawyers prior to the 15th of December. Minister, my understanding from meetings with his international team is that the precise charges he faces remain unclear on the information available and that there is no evidence against Ibrahim set out in the charge sheet. Ibrahim has been living within appalling prison conditions with a lack of medical treatment, with letters from him describing regular beatings, being stripped naked in front of inmates and guards, being hit with metal chains, and insufficient access to daylight and exercise. Journalists report that a recent letter stated that he is merely, quote, waiting in a queue for my turn on a death rope, unquote, and further, his family claim that he has fainted on 4 occasions in recent weeks as his condition weakens. Given the lack of evidence, the lack of clarity on charges, the lack of access to lawyers, prolonged detention, cruel treatment, and precedents of mass trials in Egypt, I think a fair trial would appear to be impossible. So it is a time of great urgency, Minister. I know you understand that, which is why I am hoping that in your answer to me, you will indicate what new actions you have done and will do to step up the pressure for his release. Again, as I know that you would be aware, Minister, it's no longer a time for aspirations, that now is the time to secure his freedom and to bring him home.
Thank you, Katherine. I want to thank Senator Zappone for raising this important issue, and I wish to assure her, and indeed the House, that the objectives on the part of the government in this case are twofold. Firstly, to see the release of Ibrahim Halawa by the Egyptian authorities so that he can return to his family here in Dublin, to his studies here in Dublin, and secondly, to provide all consular support for his health and welfare while he continues to remain in detention. Having regard to the fact that the trial is still ongoing, the government needs to be extremely careful to ensure that its actions, both public and private, are well judged, that they do not detract from our goal of securing positive progress for Ibrahim Halawa at the earliest possible opportunity. The further adjournment of the trial, as outlined by the Senator, was a matter of some disappointment. I have conveyed the government's ongoing concern at the continued delays to both the Egyptian Foreign Minister and Egypt's Ambassador to Ireland, both of whom I keep in regular contact with. Embassy officials are preparing to be at the next hearing of the trial, which is scheduled to take place next week on the 15th of December. I wish to assure the Senator that within the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, this consular case continues to receive a very high level of priority, and I wish to acknowledge what the Senator has said in that very regard. In addition to the 48 consular visits conducted thus far, the case has also been raised at the highest level between the Taoiseach and President al-Sisi, most recently last month. I have also raised the issue on several occasions with my Egyptian counterpart, Foreign Minister Sami Sukri. I have raised the issue on a regular basis with Egypt's Ambassador to Ireland, Ms. Sohagendi. I have raised the issue with the European Union's High Representative, Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Vice President of the Commission, Federica Mogherini. My colleague, the Minister for Justice, recently raised the case with Minister Sukri when they met at the Migration Summit, which took place in Valletta, Malta in recent times. While Ibrahim Halawa remains in prison, our focus is very much on his welfare. And I'm naturally concerned about reports that he may have embarked on a hunger strike. Such a course of action could, of course, be damaging to his health. And I can't see how in any way this course of action will contribute to positive progress on the case. And indeed, I would urge the Senator, and I know of her interest in this case over a long period of time, but I would urge her, indeed I would urge anyone, Caherlick, who has the best interest of the citizen at heart, to do everything within their power to dissuade him from this course of action and to encourage him to engage in all and every nutritional activity. The Irish Government has formally supported the applications made to the court to secure his release on bail under Decree 140, which grants a discretionary power of release to the President of Egypt. The bail application, as the Senator will be aware, is exclusively a matter for determination by the court. With regard to Decree 140, we have been repeatedly advised by the authorities in Egypt that this discretion will only be considered after the matter of the trial has been concluded, and we would expect that there would be progress in this regard next week on the 15th of December. But in the meantime, I wish to assure the Senator that we will continue to avail of all appropriate opportunities to respectfully remind the authorities in Egypt of our concern for the citizens' health and welfare, and our wish, our desired wish, and indeed our priority, will be that he will be able to return to his family in Ireland at the earliest possible opportunity.
Question, Senator.
Okay, thank you so much, Minister. I really deeply respect the views, and I do appreciate and acknowledge the high level of priority that you've identified, that you and your staff have provided with Ibrahim and his family in relation to his case. I acknowledge the objectives that you've identified, and I do see that you have pursued those objectives. I suppose in your response, what I hear is that you have pursued all these various courses. I'm not sure if you feel that there is nothing more to do apart than to continue on the way in which which you have identified. I suppose it's just so critical. I felt it is important at this stage for me to raise this publicly. That notwithstanding its status under Egyptian law, his continued detention without trial, his inability meaningfully to challenge it constitutes, I think, a serious violation of his rights under international law. That it has been an unjustifiably long period of time that he is in detention, and that there must be other ways, whether it's a fresh application in relation to 140, the Rule 140, directly from our government, and I know you know, and that we both are aware, there is a debate in relation to when is the appropriate time to do that, when it has been done by other countries in terms of the release of prisoners. We know there is a debate going on in relation to that. And also, I hope that you will give every support of access of his legal team to him prior to his trial. So I hope that, I appreciate your response, but I do hope that, given the ongoing length of time, of the arbitrariness of his detention, that there must be other ways that you are exploring so that ultimately Ibrahim can be released and come home.
Yeah, I want to make a couple of points clear. On behalf of the Irish Government, I wish to assure the Senator and this House that we fully support all and any applications that have been made to the Court, A, in relation to bail, but B, in the matter of the Presidential Decree under Rule 140. We are fully supportive in that regard. Ultimately we don't have a final say in the form of a judgment. This is a matter exclusively, and I'm sure the Senator will agree, this is a matter exclusively under the jurisdiction and remit of the courts in Egypt. But we are not only in regular contact, but in constant contact. And I accept, Catherine, that there are those who do not agree with the approach of the government. But I appeal to anybody who has the best interests of our citizens at heart, to ensure that their own actions at this stage, and indeed public statements, do not jeopardise his position and progress that has been made to date, irrespective of any views regarding the fairness or appropriate nature of any arrest abroad. And whilst we are entitled to expect that international standards are fully complied with, where an Irish citizen is charged with an offence under the law of a foreign country, it's foreign law that's applied, and in this case it's Egyptian law that's applied. And it's the relevant foreign authorities which decide on matters such as bail and such as release. And of course, I wish to acknowledge what the Senator has said regarding the inordinate length of time in which our citizen has been detained without a trial having taken place. I want to acknowledge the contribution of many NGOs who have expressed an interest in this case. But ultimately the decision to release Ibrahim Halawa will be ultimately a decision that is made by the Egyptian authorities. And my strategy in seeking his release is carefully considered. It's informed by decades of experience in difficult consular cases. It's underpinned by extensive and ongoing consultation with states which have had citizens in similar circumstances. And again, I speak to my international colleagues on a regular basis in order to see and determine where best practice can be applied. And since October, which is the specific question which has been raised by the Senator, since October, I wish to assure the Senator that we have renewed our engagements and we continue to seek all and every opportunity to make our position clear. And I believe, therefore, that the approach taken by the Government represents the best means of achieving the twin goals of A, protecting his welfare, and B, and more importantly, securing his release at the earliest opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. House stands suspended until 11:30.